Do you agree with Tom Brady?
I mean, a lot here, Sam.
Nice little public disagreement here between Alex Smith and Tom Brady, who said this.
I think there's a lot of mediocrity in today's NFL. Yeah. I don't see the excellence that I saw in the past.
Why not? Why not? Why do you think that is?
I think the coaching isn't as good as it was. I don't think the development of young players is as good as it was. I don't think the schemes are as good as they were. I think the rules have allowed a lot of bad habits to get into the actual performance of the game. Mm-hmm. So I just think the product, in my opinion, is less than what it's been.
Smith would disagree.
First off, he hasn't been retired that long. He was just playing. Like, he just won a Super Bowl in the current game. Like, is he discounting that one? And then my biggest complaint with this, and no offense to you guys, well, all three of you guys, he played in the most uncompetitive division, I think, in NFL history. I mean, you come out of training camp, the biggest cupcake division, you got a ticket to the playoffs right away. Like, talk about mediocre.
He has a point on Brady's remarks. More from Smith.
I completely disagree with this. I know he's referencing the rule changes over the middle to the receiver, but in my opinion, I think the game's gotten better. There's more parity across the league. Quarterback play is at an all-time high, I think, across the league. Like, the best, you've got the best athletes playing the position. We didn't have this 30, 40 years ago. And then I also, listen, he's referencing also that offense is down, right? Like, the numbers this year. To me, I kind of think we're in a golden age of D linemen.
Personally, I love this. Not Rex Ryan faking a heart attack, but the unusually ho-hum Alex Smith showing fire and passion going at the game's greatest quarterback. So there's a lot to take in here. Let's discuss all of this, okay? First, awful announcing notes in 2007, when the New England Patriots went 16-0, undefeated. Brady faced a gauntlet of quarterbacks in the AFC East, like Kellen Clemens, J.P. Lossman. I mean, come on. These are not great quarterbacks, but Smith exaggerated his point. Even though the Pats did win 17 division titles from 2001 to 2019. See, we're going to dissect this little by little. That is part of the problem with Alex Smith's rant, and I'm not defending one over the other. I think they both brought really good points here. But to put it all in a vacuum and say, hey, you didn't even face the best competition, when really, throughout his time, they were just dominant, kind of shows you. It's sort of like the Vladimir Klitschko way of thinking of the heavyweight division. Vladimir was so good, and he dominated so much with a strong, powerful, dominant jab, and he ruled the division, even though many in boxing thought that it was a boring era and what have you. Mainly, I would say, because one side was just so good. More. There was also Robert Harding on Twitter, who wrote, from 2001 to 2019, the Pats won 17 division titles. In 8 of those years, the AFC East had at least one other playoff team. Even in years when another team didn't make the playoffs, some had winning seasons. On Robert Griffin III's podcast, because everyone has a podcast, Detroit Lions great Barry Sanders, that's no shot, by the way, at RG3. It's just an oversaturated market. Barry Sanders, if not one of the greatest running backs in NFL history, had this to say. Maybe he's talking about the teams he played for, but the team I played for, the team that I played for, no, it's anything but mediocre. I saw that comment somewhere. Look, for us as Lions fans, maybe I just have blinders on because of how we're leading the division, how well we're playing, but I still see a great product. Still see great teams in a very popular game. I would listen to anything he has to say, and I'd have to get into more detail what he's referring to, but I think this is the greatest product, the greatest thing we've ever seen as Lions fans, so I'm going to enjoy this for a while, as well as he should. I'll also say this. I do feel like we are seeing some of the best quarterback play ever, and many would say, well, Rick, it's a throwing league, and guys are, attempting 60 passes. I don't mean that. I mean some of the greatest throws we've ever seen. Some of the best game managers we've ever seen. Some of the best dual-threat quarterbacks that we've ever seen as well. I saw a stat yesterday that Jalen Hurts now leads all quarterbacks with a rushing touchdown and a passing touchdown. I believe it was 11. What that says is these situations, not only with coaching staffs, but also with quarterbacks, evolve. And in 2023, I say this every time I watch Patrick Mahomes, I think he is the greatest quarterback that we've seen. Does he have the titles to back it up yet in comparison to Brady? No. No, he doesn't. But the throws that he makes, especially with akin to Brady, not the best receiving core, I'm floored. What Jalen Hurts is doing, floored. But to Brady's point, sometimes it's not as great. Here's what he said. And I'm sorry, to back up his point. USA Today had a really good write-up here. Teams are averaging 21.7 points per game this season. And that is on pace with last season's average, but it's a decline. When the NFL teams averaged 24.8 points per game in 2020, 23 points per game in 2021. NFL teams were scoring a combined average of 43.3 points per game before the Week 12 slate of games during the 2023 season. They combined to average 43.8 points per game in 2022 and 45.9 in 2021. Doesn't that say that the defenses are just getting a little... Oh, I see the Frank Reich got fired. Doesn't that say that the defenses are just getting a little better? I mean, Alex Smith brought up a really good point. He thinks that we are in the golden era of defensive line play. I would have to agree with that as well. There's more. Elijah Grayson Murray of Sports Illustrated didn't let the Brady rules go unchecked here. Brady makes a valid claim about the play being softer, leading to mediocrity. Are we forgetting there was the Brady rule instituted back in 2009? Outlaw defensive players from tackling quarterbacks below the knees. That's what ended Brady's 2008 campaign. The rule could very well be considered the start of the increasingly soft protection rules that have changed how defenses approach quarterbacks. Another big thing to piggyback off that, during Brady's tenure with the Patriots, they were a top division all but 2 seasons. One of those was, you guessed it, that year in 2008. Randy Moss, a former teammate of Tom Brady's, doesn't really ever talk poorly of Tom Brady, had this to say. The reason why I'm a little bothered by what I heard from Tom is because the quarterback position was the first position we as football fans start looking at where they start changing the game. Is this going to be two-man touch? You're sitting there laying the quarterback down all soft. Well, Tom Brady is a reason for that. You're sitting up here yelling at the officials, writing back to the NFL. So where did they start changing the game of football? At the quarterback position. So that's why I'm bothered by it. Another thing I'm bothered by, why did he have to wait until he retired to say this type of stuff? You could have said that stuff back when you were playing. It started out with changing the QB position, and it's just crazy to me now that he's sitting, now that he's done. That's a good point. But the obvious retort is, why bite the hand that feeds you while you're collecting checks and winning Super Bowls and posting ridiculous numbers at your position that, frankly, I don't know if we see a quarterback have that longevity and also surpass those numbers. That's why.